Welcome to On the Fringe. I'm Daniel Joseph, and today I actually want to open up with a pretty profound statement by Martin Luther. And what he said in his second Leipzig disputation in 1519, he made the following statement: "The book of Maccabees has weight with the faithful, but it avails nothing with the obstinate." I want you to think about that statement. Let it sink in for a moment. The book of the Maccabees has weight with the faithful, but it avails nothing with the obstinate. What is the book of the Maccabees, and why am I bringing this up? Well, in light of the fact that we are celebrating Hanukkah this week, we actually find the story of Hanukkah within the book of the Maccabees. Luther had an affinity for this book. He saw its great value. And frankly, there's a reason why even later on in the subsequent years we find it was included in the first King James Bible. In the King James 1611, you would find the book of Maccabees amongst all the other books of the Bible. The men in Luther's day, thereafter, and long before him, this book carried great weight, and here's why. The book, I would argue, is probably the clearest, most concise, most revealing book that we have today on how the end is going to unfold, what that looks like, and what the spirit of Antichrist really is, his modus operandi, how he moves, and what we can expect from that. The book of Maccabees is incredible for that, laying it out in detail through the story of Antiochus Epiphanes, who basically called himself God manifest. Well, within the story, we get some information that is absolutely critical. Things like that Antiochus moved to make his entire kingdom one, that all should be one people, and so there was to be this one world order. This is what he called for. This is the spirit of Antichrist. This is what the spirit of Antichrist does. Not just that, we're actually told that he captivated the people by intrigue. They were absolutely intrigued with him. We're told that he came in peaceably. Antiochus came in peaceably and deceitfully. And so there are so many things on different levels that we can see that we can expect with the spirit of Antichrist that is absolutely vile. In addition to that, the most overt thing to identify the vileness of Antiochus Epiphanes, or the spirit of Antichrist, is the attack against truth. In fact, we're told in the book of Daniel that the thing that he was known for is that he would cast truth to the ground. Well, read the story of Hanukkah, what happened. Antiochus, actually, anyone who was caught having a Torah, who had the law, or was attempting to observe the law, observe Sabbath, observe festivals, observe even circumcision, they were literally killed. They were killed. Torahs were actually burned because it's the arch enemy of the Antichrist. Things like Sabbath, the law and the commandments and the feasts, these are total in opposition of the spirit of Antichrist. Now, this scares me when you look at the current condition that the church is in today. And the reason it scares me is because all of these things that we read about in the story of Hanukkah that Antiochus went and fought against vehemently are the very same things that the church has willingly accepted. In other words, willingly accepted the fact that the law is not for the believer, that the law is to be cast aside. It's literally done away with. It's made void. Shabbat. You think about the Shabbat and how Christians respond to the Shabbat today, the Christian church. It doesn't. It has cast aside the Shabbat. The festivals, Pesach, and Yom Kippur, and Rosh Hashanah, they're nowhere to be found. In other words, when you look at the condition of the church today, we see on a very real level that the Antichrist has breached the walls of the church. Now, here's the thing. There's always a progression with the devil, and you see it all throughout Scripture, especially in the story of Hanukkah. This progression is simple. The progression is to come in peaceably, to be willing to bless people for walking away from the Torah, the Shabbat, the feasts, and so on, so forth. But when that doesn't happen, and that did happen in the story of Hanukkah, go back and read the story of Hanukkah, and what you will find is that it says many from Israel went out and willingly accepted the command of the king. Ponder that for a second, because that's a template saying many are going to be deceived within the church itself. Those who claim to be the people of God, many of them are going to be deceived and follow the Antichrist. In fact, not just that, but if you read right when in the first chapter of First Maccabees, what you discover is that many went out, they weren't just deceived, but they went out deceiving others. They went out to mislead others, to encourage others to succumb to the king's command. This makes more sense. You know why they did this? This is what's really fascinating. They did this because they told their brethren, since we have separated from the Gentiles, these horrible things have befallen us. So let us not do that anymore. For the sake of our own peace, for the sake of our own safety, let us compromise. Remember that, because we are going to see that mantra at the very end of the age. Scarier yet, we're seeing that mantra right now. We have seen that mantra breach the church. I mean, it is frightening. When you read the story of Hanukkah, it is frightening because you realize we're in the days of Hanukkah. We're celebrating Hanukkah this week, but we are literally in the prophetic days of Hanukkah right now. And this progression that I'm talking about, where the enemy will come in peaceably, after people do not receive it peaceably, he moves to violence. He moves to threats and intimidation to the point you will die. He will kill you. So what is the expectation that we can have in this country? The expectation is that, okay, right now, to a point, it's a peaceable. Certainly there are court cases happening right now. You can start to see things heating up where they're becoming more and more intolerant. The Antichrist, the spirit of Antichrist, is becoming more intolerant towards the beautiful truth of God. If anyone wants to cling on to morality, if anyone dares speak up against an alternative lifestyle, they're absolutely crucified. But there is a day coming soon, and I only tell you this, this is not to scare anybody, to put fear in anyone, but I only say it because these days are coming, and you need to be ready. You need to be willing to die for the gospel of Yeshua, to die for the sake of righteousness. You know, one of the amazing things you read about in the story of Hanukkah is when Mattathias rose up, this priest who was blessed with these sons that followed the Lord, and he refused to obey the king's command. He had this righteous zeal for the Lord. Go and see what he proclaimed when he rebelled against Antiochus, when he rebelled against the spirit of Antichrist. Go and look at the words he proclaimed. Virtually, he said, all who are zealous for the Torah, come with me. You think about that statement. All who are zealous for the Torah, come with me. Understand something. At the very end of the age, when there is a rebellion against the spirit of Antichrist, the people who are zealous for the Torah are going to bind together. It's going to be the same cry. There's going to be a righteous cry for everyone to turn back to the Torah. We are seeing that cry happen right now. We are seeing that happen. There is a return. Believers are coming into faith and understanding that this intimate relationship that we have with Christ, is to be experienced through His Word, through His Torah. And so, I mean, there's so many more profound things that we could be covering in the story of Hanukkah that are just mind-blowing, that are prophetic, that we literally see happening right now. So what I do is I encourage you, dig in to this story during this time of Hanukkah that we're celebrating this week, and get educated about the days you're living in, and get zealous for the things that are holy. Get zealous for the Torah, because it's His voice, it's His character, it's His nature. It is the very expression by which we are to walk out the faith in the living God. So bless you during this season, and stay strong in the faith, brother.